For so many of us, Little House on the Prairie was never just a weekly television program to pass the time. It was a doorway into a world where the dirt was honest and the heart was everything. It stood as a sacred, unspoken vow that the bonds of kinship could weather any storm the wilderness dared to throw. It reminded us that with a little bit of faith and a neighbor to lean on, no winter was ever too cold to endure together. Yet, the years have a way of marching on, turning those golden memories into the dusty ink of history as time rewrites the chapters we knew by heart. While a few of those familiar faces still walk among us today, carrying the flickering torch of that beautiful legacy into the modern world, others chose to step back into the quiet shadows of a private life. While some have long since journeyed to that great, final frontier beyond the horizon, even so, the winding, dusty trails of Walnut Grove still call out to our souls like the comforting warmth of a childhood hearth. One can't help but wonder where the winding road of life led those pioneers once the sun finally set on the old western horizon. What happened to the magic when the stage lights finally dimmed and the heavy silence of reality replaced the director's final call? Think back to Charles Ingalls, the man who stood as the tall, weathered oak and the beloved protector of the entire family. That legendary journey through the tall grass spanned from the autumn of 1974 until the curtains finally closed in 1983. This iconic father figure was brought to life with incredible spirit and heart by the incomparable Michael Landon. He entered this world on a crisp Halloween night back in 1936. Seemingly destined to become a legend of the silver screen, Michael was only 37 years old when he first donned that trademark hat and stepped onto the dusty set in 1974, drawing inspiration from the real-life father of Laura Ingalls Wilder. He met every frontier trial with a prayer and a steady, working man's hand. He possessed a rare, quiet kind of tenderness that could somehow soothe any bruised heart or troubled mind. He was anchored by a set of values that never once wavered. No matter how hard the bitter winds blew across the open plains, the world sadly lost that bright, guiding light on the very first day of July. In 1991, a sudden battle with pancreatic cancer took him from the world at the far too early age of 54. His departure left an empty chair at the table of television history that no one else could ever truly hope to fill. Right beside him stood Caroline Ingalls, the quiet, pulsing heartbeat who kept that little cabin on the plains feeling like a sanctuary. She graced our living rooms with her elegance and poise. From 1974 all the way through 1983, that unforgettable role was inhabited with such gentle grace by the immensely talented Karen Grassel. Her own life story began on a cold winter's day, specifically February 25th, 1942. Karen was just 32 years old when she first began showing the world what it truly meant to be a pioneer mother in 1974. As a woman of deep and selfless devotion, she navigated the harsh realities of the wild with a kindness that never seemed to fade. She showed us a grit and a determination that were every bit as tough as the thick prairie sod beneath her feet. This was balanced perfectly by a silent, inner power that never needed to shout to make its presence felt. She acted as the glue that kept their spirits whole through every season of deep grief and every ray of unexpected sunshine. Now, as we look at the calendar in 2026, she has reached the venerable and dignified age of 84. She remains a deeply cherished figure, held close in the memories of those who value the golden age of Hollywood, forever remembered by fans across the globe as the ultimate symbol of a mother's fierce and unconditional love. Then there was little Carrie Ingalls, the baby of the family who seemed to grow up right before our very eyes each week. She was a constant part of our lives from the premiere in 1974 until the show's emotional conclusion in 1983. That sweet, wide-eyed face belonged to Lindsay Greenbush, who captured the innocence of childhood so perfectly. Though many viewers never realized it, she actually shared the demanding role with her identical twin sister, Sydney. These two sisters were born into the world on the 25th of May in the year 1970. Lindsay was a mere 4 years old when she first stepped onto that famous set back in 1974. The sprawling, emotional saga of the Ingalls clan continues to be a treasure chest of storytelling that we find ourselves returning to. Entire generations of families have grown up together while watching those famous adventures unfold across the wild frontier. Throughout those many wonderful years on the air, these performers began to feel more like our own neighbors than distant stars. To this very day, dedicated enthusiasts from all walks of life gather to honor the enduring spirit of that small Minnesota town. Those timeless lessons about sticking together and never losing hope still speak to us loudly in our fast-paced modern world. The show serves as a beautiful, flickering window into the very soul of early American life, forever frozen in a simpler time. These humble tales of life on the prairie will live on, etched forever into the heart of our shared cultural history. There was a certain, fragile, quiet innocence that lived within the eyes of little Carrie Ingalls. This soft gentleness offered a much-needed warmth during the family's most grueling and bitter winters on the frontier. She was a small, steady presence on the screen that whispered a powerful message to every person watching. A constant, living reminder of the pure world the Ingalls were struggling so desperately to build and safeguard. To see her was to understand exactly why Charles worked his hands to the bone to protect their home. Fast forward to the year 2026, and that little girl would be 55 years old today. Fans across the world still hold her in their hearts with a profound and lasting sense of nostalgic love. To those who spent their childhoods in Walnut Grove, she feels like a sister we grew up beside. Then there was the formidable Harriet Oleson, the woman we all couldn't wait to see on screen. As the sharp-tongued social climber of Little House on the Prairie, she ruled the town's social ladder with an iron fist. From 1974 until 1983, she brought a whirlwind of drama to the dusty prairie roads. The legendary Catherine McGregor was the brilliant mind who breathed life into this delightfully thorny character. Born on the 12th of January back in 1925, she brought decades of experience to the role. McGregor had reached the age of 49 when the cameras first started rolling for the series premiere. That debut in 1974 changed the landscape of television drama for families everywhere. It was Harriet's unending vanity and her constant meddling that stirred up the town's most memorable conflicts. She provided that delicious, crackling tension that made every single episode feel like a true event. But in those rare, fleeting moments of vulnerability, we saw the hidden layers of a very real human soul. McGregor possessed a rare gift, infusing the character with a sharp, theatrical bite that no one else could. Her impeccable comedic timing made even her most devious schemes feel like a masterclass in acting. It was this unique spark that ensured the name Harriet Oleson would be etched into television history forever. On November 13th, 2018, the curtains finally closed on her long and vibrant life. Passing away at 93, she left a void in the hearts of those who love to loathe her antics. She remains, without question, one of the most iconic love-to-hate figures to ever grace the small screen. Standing beside her was Nels Oleson, the ultimate portrait of patience and quiet, enduring strength. As the kind-hearted proprietor of the local mercantile, he was the true moral center of Walnut Grove. Throughout the long run, from 1974 to 1983, he was the show's steady anchor. The role was played with incredible grace by the talented Richard Bull, a veteran of the craft. Born on June 26, 1924, he carried a natural wisdom in his very demeanor. Bull was 50 years old when the world first met the gentle shopkeeper in the fall of '74. That year, 1974, marked the beginning of a legacy that would span nearly a decade. In the middle of all the prairie drama, Nels frequently acted as the town's soft-spoken moral compass. He was the conscience of the community, standing tall when things felt like they were falling apart. He was a fair and gentle man, forever caught in the exhausting dance of balancing decency with Harriet's chaos. There was a genuine warmth in Bull's performance that made every viewer feel safe in his presence. Standing behind that wooden counter, Nels felt like the steady, beating heart of the entire town of Walnut Grove. He passed away on February 3rd, 2014. At the venerable age of 89 years old, he is remembered today as the most grounding and soulful presence the series ever had the luck to feature. And who could ever forget Willie Oleson, the young boy who was always looking for a bit of trouble? He was the spirited and mischievous spark of the Oleson household, always ready with a prank. As the youngest son of Harriet and Nels, he brought a playful energy to the sprawling prairie landscape. This unforgettable role was played by Jonathan Gilbert throughout the show's iconic 9-year run on the air. Born on April 28, 1967. He was just a young boy entering a massive world. Back in 1967, no one knew he would soon become a household name across the country. Gilbert was only 6 years old when he first stepped onto the set for the series premiere. Back in the landmark year of 1974, a new story began to unfold on our television screens. Little Willie started his journey as the quintessential schoolyard prankster, always looking for a bit of trouble. But as the seasons turned, those rough edges slowly began to soften and melt away. He grew into a truly kind-hearted young man as the series found its emotional footing and matured. Once the final farewells were said and the series finally reached its conclusion, Jonathan Gilbert made the personal choice to step away from the flickering lights of the acting world. He eventually found peace in a quiet, private life far removed from the busy streets of Hollywood. Looking ahead to the year 2026, he has reached the age of 58. Yet, we all still cherish the way he brought a much-needed sense of lighthearted mischief and a vibrant, boyish spirit that felt so incredibly authentic to that era. To the dusty paths and warm homes of the beloved town of Walnut Grove, then we have the steady, healing presence of the town's own Dr. Hiram Baker. He was the one man everyone in Walnut Grove relied upon throughout the run of Little House on the Prairie, a journey that spanned from 1974 all the way through 1983. This pillar of the community was portrayed with such grace by the talented Kevin Hagen. He entered this world on the 3rd of April. Born in 1928, Hagen had reached 46 when the series first premiered in 1974, playing the town physician. He carried himself with a natural sense of calm, authority, and deep empathy. He was the kind of man who would always show up at your door, not merely to tend to the physical wounds and broken bones of the frontier, but to help carry the heavy weight of grief, fear, and the many quiet crises of pioneer life. There was a certain gentleness in Kevin Hagen's performance that stayed with us. His unwavering steadiness made the character of Dr. Baker feel like a true friend. He became a symbol of essential comfort, a healing spirit taking a very human form before he passed away on July 9th, 2005. At the age of 77, he left behind a legacy as one of the most cherished and deeply respected country doctors ever to be captured on film for the small screen. And who could ever forget the girl we all loved to dislike? The infamous Nellie Oleson, that wealthy, spoiled girl who made life difficult for everyone in Little House on the Prairie from 1974 to 1983. She was brought to life with legendary, sharp-tongued precision by the great Allison Arngrim. Her own story began on the 18th of January, way back in the early 60s, specifically in the year 1962. Little Allison was only 12 years old when the series first captured our imaginations in 1974. The way Nellie treated her neighbors was often so cruel it was almost hard to believe. But it was Arngrim's perfect comedic timing and her completely fearless dedication to the role that made her character feel strangely magnetic to every viewer. She was the ultimate antagonist who fueled some of the show's most legendary and dramatic chapters. As the character of Nellie began to grow and evolve over many years, we started to see small flashes of her inner insecurity, which made the entire performance feel much more layered than just a typical storybook villain. As we look toward the horizon of the year 2026, Arngrim is now 64 years old, and fans still celebrate her for creating such an iconic and unforgettable television troublemaker that defined a generation. Finally, we remember the resilient soul of the young Albert Quinn Ingalls, the foster son who joined the family and brought a new, poignant depth to their story. Step back in time with me to the sun-drenched hills of Walnut Grove and the timeless world of Little House on the Prairie. For nearly a decade, from 1974 until 1983, the character of Albert was brought to life by the talented Matthew Labourteau. His journey began in the real world on December 8, 1966, long before he stepped onto the dusty trails of the Ingalls farm. When he first walked onto that iconic set, Labourteau was just a 10-year-old boy with a face full of wonder. He entered our living rooms as a young child searching for a place to call home, looking for a sense of true belonging. The stories surrounding Albert were always deeply personal, diving into the complicated search for a young man's identity. We watched him struggle through those fiery years of teenage rebellion that every parent remembers so vividly. At its heart, his role captured that universal ache of wanting to prove oneself worthy of a family's unconditional love. Because of his performance, Albert was often at the center of the most emotionally heavy and soul-stirring moments. These were the episodes that taught us life's hardest lessons through the eyes of a boy we all cared for. Labourteau approached every scene with such raw sincerity that you forgot you were watching a television production. He possessed a rare gift that made Albert feel like a living, breathing person, rather than just words on a script. Looking ahead toward the year 2026, time has continued its steady march forward since those golden days. He has reached the age of 59 now, carrying the wisdom of a life lived well beyond the prairie. Even today, Albert stands as a beautiful reminder that family isn't just about blood, but about the second chances we give. His legacy is a testament to the hope that it is never too late to find where you truly fit in. Then there was Mary Ingalls, the quiet soul who served as the emotional anchor for the entire Ingalls household. As the eldest and most studious daughter, she graced our screens from 1974 all the way through 1983. This beloved character was portrayed with grace and elegance by the young and gifted actress Melissa Sue Anderson. She became the face of a generation's virtues, embodying the spirit of a pioneer girl growing into a woman. Her story in this world started on September 26, 1962. In a time of great change in America. Anderson was only 11 years old when the world first fell in love with the show back in 1974. Of all the characters, Mary's journey evolved into one of the most poignant and powerful arcs in television history. We all remember the heartbreaking shift when her world went dark and she tragically lost her eyesight. It was a narrative turn that forced her character to find a new way to navigate a sudden and frightening reality. We watched in awe as she allowed quiet courage to take the place of the comforts she had always known. Anderson handled that incredible transformation with a sense of maturity that seemed to come from another era entirely. She brought a level of emotional depth and restraint that left audiences moved to tears week after week. As we approach the year 2026, we look back at the incredible path she has walked since then. Now at 63 years old, her portrayal of Mary remains a shining light for anyone facing their own dark times. She gave us one of the most inspiring and thoughtful performances ever captured on the small screen. It was a masterclass in resilience, showing us how to stand tall even when the path ahead is completely unseen. This is the enduring magic of Little House on the Prairie, a show that captured the very essence of the human spirit. It was a humble, simple story about a family that somehow managed to feel like it belonged to all of us. By the time we reach 2026, we find that some of our favorite stars are still walking among us today. Others have chosen to step away from the bright lights of Hollywood to find peace in a more private life. And sadly, some have left us entirely, surviving now only in the flickering shadows of our fondest memories. Yet, the connection we feel to those characters never truly fades. No matter how many years go by, That special warmth they built together in Walnut Grove still glows like a welcoming lamp sitting in a cabin window. If revisiting these old friends has touched your heart today, we would love for you to stay a while longer. If this trip down memory lane brought back a sweet piece of your own childhood, please let us know. Take a moment to like this video to keep these classic stories alive for the next generation of fans. We invite you to subscribe to our channel and join our community of fellow dreamers and historians. There are so many more stories waiting to be told about the people who shaped our favorite television eras. Come back soon as we continue to celebrate the lives and legacies of the cast members you will always love. Think back to those flickering frames and let your heart decide which of those silver screen icons will forever feel like a cherished member of your own household. We all have that one soul on film who guided us through the years. So tell us, who is the character that will always have a seat at your family table?